You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
Trump's odd new kleptomania habit, a clear sign he's suffering from dementia. Expert, based on an article by Daniel Hampton. The scissors are not the story. A small object, a large failure. A video of Donald Trump pocketing ceremonial scissors at a ribbon cutting is being treated like a quirky aside, the kind of clip the internet can turn into a joke before dinner. That framing is too small. The source material points to something more serious: the President of the United States, visibly handling an object on camera, then slipping it into his jacket, while a medical expert says the pattern looks less like kleptomania than dementia. The scissors matter only because they reveal the machinery around the man holding them. Trump is not some errant office clerk misplacing supplies. He is the occupant of the highest executive office in the country. When the president's behavior raises concerns about memory, judgment, impulse control, and ownership, that is not a personality gimmick. It is a governance problem. The power is at the top. This story is not about a stray act of taking. It is about who can behave this way in public and still command a state apparatus. Trump cut the ribbon in Medora, North Dakota, beside Interior Secretary Doug Burgum, then pocketed the scissors. The symbolism is crude. The office, the ceremony, the state all become props in the president's orbit. That is what actual institutional power looks like when it is no longer disciplined by restraint. The man at the center does not need permission to turn a public event into a private gesture. Everyone else around him is forced to react after the fact. The real pattern is not theft, it is drift. The article also cites reporting from a new tell-all describing Trump taking decorative items his wife had chosen for shared spaces and moving them into his own rooms, even after staff pointed it out. That detail is not proof of a diagnosis. It is evidence of a pattern the source's medical expert says is consistent with executive dysfunction. The point is not that Trump is a cartoon burglar. The point is that the behavior described is repetitive, petty, and indifferent to ownership or correction. That is exactly the kind of conduct institutions are supposed to catch long before it sits inside the presidency. Instead, it is being processed as gossip, with the stakes blurred into jokes about kleptomania. The misdirection machine. The sophist lie in political coverage is the one that treats deliberate harm, or visible decline, as if it were merely weirdness. Calling this a souvenir grab drains the story of consequence. So does turning it into a punchline about Trump being a thief, as if the important question were whether he is tacky enough. The stronger question is why a sitting president with apparent signs of cognitive decline is still being managed through spectacle rather than confronted as a risk to public power. The article itself offers the clue. A neurologically focused pathologist says the stealing behavior may reflect frontal lobe impairment and loss of inhibition. If that assessment is even partly right, then the problem is not a single embarrassing clip. It is a political system that keeps staging ceremonies for a man whose judgment is in question. What this moment reveals: this is what authoritarian politics does in plain view. It turns institutional weakness into personal theater and then asks everyone to laugh, normalize, or look away. The object in Trump's pocket is trivial. The larger fact is not. The presidency is still being held by a man whose behavior prompts medical concern, while the surrounding political culture struggles to say the obvious without wrapping it in euphemism. The scandal is not the scissors. The scandal is a republic trained to treat the erosion of presidential capacity as content instead of crisis. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Raw Story for today's article, with the automated voice of Amy. Thanks for listening.